So I decided to do Sally and Jack as succulent plants because I think they're super duper cute, and it's kind of something you can kind of just have sitting around all year round, not just for Halloween. Right above each one, you'll see how much I used. This is the blue color that I used for her face, and this is by Loops and Threads, and the color is Blue Haze. This is by Loops and Threads, and it is Fire Red. This is by Loops and Threads, and it is Soft Taupe. And we need some scrap white just for the eyes, so I have no idea what this is. It's just white. You're also going to need some safety eyes for this project. So let's jump right into this. So first we start with blue. And we're going to be using a 4.5 G7 hook for this project. And we're going to start with a magic ring of 6 single crochets. If you're not familiar with the magic ring or don't like it, you can do a chain 2 and then put everything into the first stitch. This is built in amigurumi, so you're going to need a stitch marker. Your next round is going to be 2 single crochets in each stitch. So after your first stitch, now don't be slip stitching and chaining. After your first stitch, that's where the marker goes. Then you can put stitch number 2 in that same space, and in each space around gets 2 stitches for a total of 12. Now if you're not using the same yarn as I am, because it's built in amigurumi, the weave is tighter. Not the stitches, the weave is tighter. So whatever yarn you're using, whatever hook it calls for, just go down half a size or a size. If you're a loose crocheter, go down a size. My yarn calls for a 5, so I went down to a 4.5. But you may not necessarily be using the same yarn as me. Now, the myth about amigurumi being tight, super tight stitches is not true. It's just a tighter weave because you use a smaller hook, but you can crochet exactly the same way you crochet all the time. And I'm a loose crocheter, and I do amigurumi all the time. There's also a myth out there that amigurumi has to be this big, which is also untrue. So I just wanted to clear up a little bit of myths that are floating around out there. Your next round is 1 single crochet and an increase. Your stitch marker counts as number 1. Your next stitch will get the increase, which is 2 single crochets in the same space. This will give you a total of 18 stitches when you come back around. Your next round is going to be 2 single crochets and an increase. This will bring it up to 24 stitches. That's number 1, that's number 2, and then your increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. And repeat. Your next round is going to be 3 single crochets and an increase, and this will bring it up to 30 stitches. That's number 1. That's 3 single crochets, and then this stitch gets the increase. So 2 single crochets in the same space, and repeat. Your next round is going to be 4 single crochets and an increase, and this will bring it up to 36 stitches. If you're not ending your last stitch on your increase, the one before the marker, you're doing something wrong. The last stitch before the marker should always be the increase if you're doing increases. So that's number 1 with the marker. That is 4 single crochets, and then your increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. So your next round is going to be 5 single crochets and an increase. It's number 1. That's 5 single crochets and then your increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. Repeat this all the way around for a total of 42 stitches. So your last increase round is going to be 6 single crochets and an increase. This will bring it up to 48 stitches, so as far as we go. So that's number 1. Six single crochets and then your increase. 2 single crochets in the same space, and repeat. So this is what you should have. This is my hand. This is the size. This should be flat. So this next round is going to be done in the back loops only. So these guys. The reason is because we're going to take it from being a flat bottom to sides. So there you can see all my front loops still left exposed and then the second reason is we reattach with our red to do this part, which is not sewn on, it's built on. So 2 reasons why we need the front loops right now. So your next round is 1 single crochet in each back loop. For 48 stitches. Now they can be difficult. I take this finger and I just try to push the loop on as opposed to trying to get the loop or my hook into the loop type thing, if that's helpful at all. So this is what you should have, all these front loops exposed, so we can get into that later. Now it will be cupping a little bit because we just did one single crochet in each stitch, well, each loop. So for the next 10 rows, you're going to just put one single crochet in each of these 48 stitches, the whole stitch, not the back loops. It's going to be the whole entire stitch for the next 10 rows, and I will see you on the other side. So that's my 10 rows. This is what you should have. So we're going to start decreasing now. So we can hold off on the stuffing. You can do whatever you want. If you want to start stuffing it now, it's just going to be hard to hold probably. So our next round is going to be 6 single crochets and a decrease. And this will bring you down to 42 stitches. That's number 1 with your marker. That is 6 single crochets. And then you can decide which decrease you want to do. A regular one would be to go into the stitch, pull up a loop. Go into the second stitch, pull up a loop. Yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. An invisible decrease is go into the front loop, pop around to the next front loop, then yarn over and pull through, and finish the stitch. It leaves the back loops back there so that you have less holes. Cuts down on the gapping. That's why it's called invisible, because it's hardly noticeable. But you can do whatever you want. 6 single crochet decrease all the way around. And again, if you're not coming around and your last 2 stitches are decreased before your marker, then you're doing something wrong. Your next round is going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch for 42 stitches. So you should have 42 stitches. Your next round is going to be 5 single crochets and a decrease, and this will bring you down to 36 stitches. After this round, we're going to switch to red. That's number 1. That is 5 single crochets, and then your decrease. And repeat. Oops, I forgot I was changing to red. So, this is my last stitch, and it's a decrease. So I'm going to start my decrease, but I'm going to finish it with the red color. So I like to tie these so I don't have to weave. my preference, doesn't have to be yours. You can change colors any way you want to. So, with red, we're going to use the front loops now. So only the front loops. And we're just going to do 1 single crochet all the way around using these guys. You should have 36 stitches. So that's my 36 stitches in my front loops, and now we're going to use the back loops. So these are now your back loops back here. We've already done back loops, so using now all the back loops, 1 single crochet in each stitch. Alrighty, one more row in red, and then we switch to the brown. So 1 single crochet in each stitch around for the full stitch. So we're using the full stitch in this round. So I'm on my last stitch, and I'm going to change to brown, or my soft taupe color. So with my brown, do you see all these? Let me roll this down. All of these loops from when we did front loops, so when we did front loops with our red, we left all these back loops exposed, and that's what I want to get into with the brown. So what I want you to do is go into your loop. We're going to do an extended single crochet, so that means you pull through the first loop first, yarn over, and pull through the second loop. The reason being, let me get all my strands out of the way, is when you roll this back up, you need the height, so it should come up just at the height of the red. It should be equal, and that's why we're doing extended. So again, go into your loop, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2, and that gives you the height that you need all the way around to match the red. So I am all the way back around, and as you can see, mine is just below the red. It's no higher than the red, and that's fantastic. That's actually a really good spot to be. So I'm going to start stuffing mine before I continue. because we're just going to be doing, whoa, pulled out way too much stuffing. We're just going to be doing decreases the rest of the way to decrease this dirt. So you might want to put some stuffing in it now. Just make sure this bottom stays flat-ish. Mine's a little bit rounded in my other person, and it's fine. She sits okay, but you want this piece to sit, be on display type of thing. So I like to push down and out and then fill the hole that I dig doing that. So just make sure you're not getting in the way of this brown. So my bottom is still pretty flat. So we are going to be getting into these later. So, sticking with your brown still, we're going to do a 2 single crochet decrease into the brown stitches. So, let's move this marker. Now it goes on this stitch. That's number 1. That's number 2. And then your decrease. So I'm just going to do invisible decreases still, all the way around for a total of 27. Get that out of the way. So your next round is going to be 1 single crochets and a decrease, and this will bring you down to 18 stitches. That's 1 single crochet, and then we jump right into our decrease and repeat. So your next round is just going to be 1 single crochet in each of these 18 stitches. So I'm gonna keep filling this because we're gonna end up closing this up. So just keep in mind, this dirt is what this brown is supposed to be. You can have it stick up as far as you want. It's completely up to you. So your last round is going to be 1 single crochets and a decrease to bring you down to 12 stitches. And then we'll cinch from there. So it's 1 single crochet and then your decrease. You can do whatever you want. Here, I don't really think that it'll matter. which decrease you do here, because we're, for the most part, gonna have succulent flowers up here. Well, they're not really flowers. You know what I'm saying. We're gonna have a plant sewn to this part. So it doesn't really matter if you do invisible or if you do just a regular one. So you can fasten off. Just need a cinching tail. I'm going to finish filling mine. Move my marker. I'm going to finish filling mine to how I want it. I don't really want mine sticking up that far, so I'm not going to keep going. I did that to my other one, and I didn't actually like the way it looked, so I'm just going to cinch here. So for cinching, you're going to go into the front loop and out the next front loop. All the way around. In and out using the front loops. And then pull. You'll get something that looks like that. You can pop across, make some knots. There, so mine's not sticking up too far. And then I'm just going to weave. So, this is what you should have. So we're going to take our red and we're going to reattach. So hold this upright like this. Find your jog where, because we worked in a spiral, you've got some loops up here and some loops down here. Find this jog. And that's where you're going to reattach. Just like this. Just going to reattach with a single crochet. So that's my 36th stitch. I'm going to chain one and I'm going to turn. And for the next 7 rows, I'm just going to continue to do the same thing. 1 single crochet in each of these 36 stitches for the next 7 rows. So that's my 7 rows. Sorry, my neighbor's cutting his hedge right outside my window. So that's fabulous. So your next round, we're going to start increasing. I gotta go close that window. Well, it cuts down on the noise a little bit, but not much. Sorry, it's nothing I can do about what my neighbor's doing. Anyway, chain 1 and turn your work. That's my 7 rows, and this is what it should look like. This is what you got going on. I know, stupid, huh? Just wait, trust the process. Alright, so we're going to start to increase. You should have 36 stitches as we speak. So this first stitch is now going to get 2 single crochets in the same space. That's our increase. Oops, what the heck happened there? And then we're going to do 34 stitches, which means 1 in each stitch for the next 34. And then this very last stitch, you're going to put an increase in there, which is 2 single crochets. So it's my 34th stitch. My last stitch is going to get 2 single crochets in the same space. Chain 1, turn your work. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to increase this first stitch. You're going to do 36 stitches and increase the last stitch. So into my last stitch, and I'm going to put 2 single crochets for an increase. Chain 1, turn your work. So you should have 40 stitches in total. We're going to increase the next round as well, so 2 single crochets in your first stitch. If your numbers aren't working out, it's because you're not finding that first stitch. You're going to do 38 single crochets all the way around and increase the last stitch. So that's my 38th stitch. I have 1 more stitch left, and I'm going to put 2 single crochets into this last space. So this will give you 42 stitches. Chain 1, turn your work. For the next 2 rows, I want you to put 1 single crochet in each of these 42 stitches. Alrighty, that's my 2 rows done. So your next 2 rounds are going to be increase rounds. You're going to do 2 single crochets in the first stitch. You're going to do 40 single crochets around and 2 single crochets in the last stitch. So 2 single crochets into your last stitch for the increase. Chain 1, turn your work. You should have 44 stitches. Your very last increase round is going to be 2 single crochets in the first stitch, 42 stitches around, and an increase into your last stitch. and 2 single crochets into your last stitch. Chain 1, turn your work. So that's it as far as increases, and now our last row is just going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch. So you should have 46 stitches. So that's my 46th stitch. I don't want you to fasten off, but pull your loop up. So now we're going to fold this up, and this is what it should look like. Kind of curly on the top. So just kind of stretch it to go up to the red. You don't have to go far. So we're going to tuck this in after. So this is what you should have. We're still attached, but I need to chain 1 and turn to be able to do this next part. I want you to slip stitch into the stitch over here to pull these 2 ends together like that. So nice and tight. And now you're going to go into this next stitch, and you're going to pick up the front loops that we left exposed on this red part that we made earlier. We left all these front loops exposed. And now I want you to use them to slip stitch your hair to your head. So in this part we just built, you're going to pick up the stitch, and then you're going to pick up a front loop from this top part, and you're going to slip stitch. Now one of them is bigger than the other, so you might have to skip a few, because this will be 40 some stitches and the top part's only going to be 30 some stitches, so you might have to skip a few, but it'll never be noticed. Or you can do almost like a decrease. This stitch here, pop around to the second stitch and then pick up a loop. But then you got to pull through like a number of stitches, and it is actually quite awkward. So I would suggest not doing that, but I mean it's an option if you wanted to. I just skipped stitches. That's all I did. Just to make it all even, Steven. But you can do whatever you want. Just know that this top part is smaller. So I just skipped a stitch in there that nobody will ever know because you can't tell. But if you were try to do a decrease like I just showed you, then it would be noticeable. So I'm going to skip another stitch that nobody will notice. So I'm just going to skip stitches along the way, trying to make this as even as I can. You know, just kind of when I notice that I'm kind of, but I've skipped like 4 stitches, but you can't tell by looking at my work that I've skipped any stitches. It's just when I find that I'm getting a little off course, a little too diagonal, then I'll skip a stitch to kind of even things up, just like I just did there. Anyway, I think you get the idea. I'm just kind of rambling at this point. So just continue all the way around. So I'm on my last stitch. Pretty sure I am. Yeah, there's nothing more. So here is where we can fasten off. So moving on, we can get the succulents done for the top, and then we'll work on the face, and then that'll be it. So with your red, you're going to make a magic ring of 6 single crochets, or a chain 2 with your 6 single crochets. For the first 2 rows, you're just going to do 1 single crochet in each of these 6 stitches. So you can put a stitch marker in. I'm just going to count to 12. That's my 6. I'm going to pull this tight. I'm going to make a knot. So I can flip this around. So that's my 2 rows. Your next round is going to be 2 single crochets in each stitch. So after the first stitch, that's when the marker goes on. Stitch number 2 can go in that same space, and 2 single crochets in each space to follow gives you 12 stitches. So your next round is going to be 1 single crochets and an increase. That's number 1. Your next stitch gets the increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. And repeat. So for the next 6 rows, I just want you to put 1 single crochet in each of these 18 stitches. So that's my 6 rows. Your next round is going to be 4 single crochets and a decrease. So that's number 1. That's 4 single crochets, and then I'm still doing invisible decreases. and repeat. So you should have 15 stitches. Your next round is going to be another decrease. 3 single crochets and a decrease, bringing you down to 12. So you can fasten off. You have to make 2 more of these. You have to make 3 altogether. You need a sewing tail and a cinching tail, or not a cinching, a whip stitching tail. So now we're going to fold this in half. Not sure what this is from. Get that out of there. So we're going to whip stitch this shut, so we're going to go all the way through stitch for stitch. There we go. So that's your little succulent. So you're going to need to make 2 more of those. I'll put the pattern on the screen and I'll meet you right back here. So I got all 3 of mine done, and we just need to sew them to the top. So I just match or stitched one side, but I kind of just intertwined them as well. So once I have them all sewn on, I kind of like to attach them because that's kind of how they grow. Oh, I hate when my ends fray like that. So I'm going to take this, and I got to go down into this corner because it's the only part that I didn't grab. And I'm going to go down and up into this guy. Anyway, so I just kind of gather it up like that. There. So once your succulents are all sewn in, I probably did it the hard way. I suck at sewing, guys. That's just all there is to it. I know for all you people that have watched me for a while, I say it all the time. But I also say it all the time for the newbies that come to my channel that don't understand that I am just incapable of sewing properly. Or well, for that matter. So let's get the face done. So we need to get some white and turn our hot glue gun on, if that's what we're doing, to be able to hot glue these eyes in place. We gotta make these white parts. Now, these eyes are made completely different because they have to be opposite. So, eye number 1 starts with a magic ring of 6 single crochets. Your first stitch is going to get 2 single crochets in the same space, but after the first one, that's when your marker goes in. Stitch number 2 can go in there. Your next stitch is going to get 2 half doubles. Your next stitch is going to get a half double. When you see brackets on my channel, that means the same space. So that the half double, and into the same space, put a double. And then I want you to chain 2 and picot, which means we're going to come down and pick up these 2 pieces and slip stitch. That's how we make a point. In this next stitch, we're going to put a double. And a half double in that same space. Next stitch is going to get 2 half doubles. The last stitch is going to get 2 singles. And you can fasten off. That's the one eye. Pretty quick. So you can leave that hole open. We need to put an eye in there, like a safety eye. So your other eye begins with a magic ring of 6 single crochets. Your first stitch is going to get 2 single crochets. Your next stitch is going to get 2 half doubles. Your next stitch is going to get a half double and a double. Your next stitch is going to get a double, a half double, chain 2, picot, your next stitch is going to get 2 half doubles, and your last stitch is going to get 2 singles. Fast enough? So we need to find some eyes to put in there. Yeah, those might be alright. So I don't know what size these are. I'm going to say maybe they're 8mm eyes. They sure are tiny. Anyway, so once you have your eyes picked out, we can carry on. I don't often get rid of that. Let me get rid of that. I usually use this to kind of leg my eye in place. So you just need to determine where your eye is going. You gotta leave some room for the eyelashes. So I'm pulling mine closed a little bit because I got smaller eyes. We can sew these on. Once they're in place, you can sew them on. Just make sure you're leaving room for the nose is going to be up here and the mouth is going to be right here. And then we still got to do all the scars and try to squeeze in some eyelashes. So now that our eyes are all done, we have to glue in the pupils because we weren't able to put them in like normal because of the I thought I was on camera. I hot glued my pupils in, but I was not on camera because my battery died and I didn't know. So I've hot glued these in. So that's that 2/8 cotton. That's what I use, this tiny little stuff. So if you got some skinny little stuff laying around, maybe do that, because that compared to this, I think is much, much better. So the nose is just the blue color. So we just need a little bit. Out of the way. So the nose, I just found a spot that looked decent. And I just kept going around in a circle, well, a loop, until my nose was decent looking. And I may or may not have squeezed a little bit. Super cute. And now the mouth. So grab your red. You don't need to do a mouth like mine. If you already have an idea of how you're doing your mouth, then by all means, knock your socks off. So first you want to figure out where your mouth is going to go. So wherever my middle is, I'm going to grab a tiny piece of fiber to keep my mouth up. Now we're wrapping this, so you're not ever going to notice. But I'm going to go through the tiniest piece of fiber in the blue, just so I can get the shape that I'm looking for. Yeah, something like that. And then I like to wrap. And every once in a while I like to grab a piece of the blue just to kind of make sure it's going to stay in the place I want it to be. And then you can fill in the mouth part red, like if you wanted to fill in the mouth part. I don't like to, I just usually leave it. But it's your project, so you can do whatever your little heart desires. Now you can continue to wrap to make your lips nice and big. You don't have to stop where I've stopped. But that's good enough for me. And last but not least, we have to do the scars. So there's a blue that's like a slaty color of blue, but I don't have that, so I'm just going to use this. That's what I used last time. I wish I had a 2-weight blue. Like if I had this in a blue, that'd be great, but I don't. So I'm going to use this. It is harder to work with once you do this because it wants to just curl, but I don't want my my scars to really be that big. I think I'll just cut it off there. So it's going to be curly now, but so on her mouth, she almost has like mouth scars, like her mouth was cut. I don't know why. So first, we're going to do the line to her mouth. And then we got to put in these cross things, cross members like stitches. So first I'm going to do the line, and then I'll do the stitches. And then I'll pop over here to finish the line. I'm going to come up in the corner of her mouth here. And then do another line. And then do the stitches. Actually, I'm going to start over here. Make sure I'm still filming. Do a stitch. And then another stitch. And then all along the side of her head here, she has scars. Now, of course, I'm not going to be able to get all up in here, but I can do the scar here. And the scar up here. There, some scarring. Yeah, I think that looks better that I've split the yarn and it's not so thick. Again, this was my last doll. It's thick, so I like this one better because everything's a lot thinner. But that's it. That's the end of our project. That is Sally in a Sally head on a succulent plant. And over time, these little things at the top, they will bend and they will look better over time. But that is our Sally succulent. So, just in time for Halloween. So we just finished doing Sally in a succulent, so now we're going to do Jack in a succulent. Let's get into this. So we're going to start with black. Now I'm going to tell you that the PDF that I offer for channel memberships will have both Sally and Jack listed in the one PDF. So I am using my 4.5, if I can find it. And we're going to start with a magic ring of 6 single crochets. So if you don't know how to do the magic ring, or you don't like the magic ring, then do a chain 2 and put 6 single crochets into the first chain. This is also being built in amigurumi, just like Sally. So your first round is going to be 2 single crochets in each stitch. So after your first stitch, that's where the marker goes. And I know that black is super duper hard to see, but there's nothing I can do about that. I'm not that magical. 2 single crochets in each stitch all the way around will give you 12 stitches. I am going to turn up my light on my camera though. 2 seconds. So, turn this up a titch. Your next round is going to be 1 single crochets and an increase. That's 1 single crochet, and then your next stitch gets the increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. I am weaving in. You don't need to. You can just tie a knot, whatever, do whatever you want. 1 single crochet, 2 single crochets, all the way around for a total of 18 stitches. Next round is going to be 2 single crochets and an increase, and this will bring it up to 24 stitches. That's number 1. That's 2, and then your increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. Your next row is going to be round, is going to be 3 single crochets and an increase. This will bring it up to 30 stitches. That's number 1. That's 3 single crochets, and then your next stitch gets the increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. And repeat. So your next round is going to be 4 single crochets and an increase, and this will bring it up to 36 stitches. That's number 1. That's 4 single crochets and then your increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. So your next round is going to be 5 single crochets and an increase, and this will bring it up to 42 stitches. That's number 1. That's 5 single crochets and then your increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. And repeat. So your last increase round is going to be 6 single crochets and an increase, and this will bring it up to 48 stitches. So this is what you should have. We're going to be in the back loops again. So I know it's hard to see but these are the back loops. So you don't have to turn it over or anything. We're going to do 1 single crochet in each of these back loops for 48 stitches. And then we're going to change to white. So this is my last back loop. I'm going to pull up a loop like I'm making a stitch, but I'm going to change to my white. And with my white, I'm going to do 10 rows, 1 single crochet in each stitch. Should have 48 stitches still. So that's my 10 rows. Sorry about the chainsaw outside. A great big tree fell in my neighbor's yard. And thankfully nobody was hurt, but they're just cutting that down to keep everybody safe. So we're going to start decreasing now. You can stuff this at any time. I'm not going to stuff mine yet, but your decrease is going to be 6 single crochets and a decrease. And this brings you down to 42 stitches. That's number 1. That is 6 single crochets, and then my invisible decreases are done in the front loop. So front loop, pop around to the next front loop, then you yarn over, pull through, and finish the stitch. That's an invisible decrease. A regular decrease would be going into the stitch, pulling up a loop, going into the next stitch, pulling up a loop, yarning over and pulling through all 3. That would be a regular decrease. I'm going to do invisibles. So repeat that. 6 single crochets and a decrease all the way around. So you should have 42 stitches. Your next round is just going to be 1 single crochet in each of these 42 stitches. So your next round is going to be 5 single crochets and a decrease, and this will bring you down to 36 stitches. Oh, I got stuck on everything trying to get my last stitch in. So, this is where we're going to do our front loops, so that we can come back and use the back loops for the brown, just like we did with Sally. I don't know if you made Sally with me, but... So this is where we're going to be getting into our front loops, these guys right here. And you're just going to do 1 single crochet in each of those loops all the way around. You should have 36 stitches. So one more round with your white, and then we're going to change to brown. Last row with white is just going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch all the way around. So I'm on my last stitch. I'm going to pull up a loop and I'm going to go to my brown, whatever dirt color you're using. This is the way I do a color change because I don't like to weave because it makes one side of your project bigger than the other side. So, that's how I do it. You can do it any way you want. Whatever way you do a color change, you can do it that way. So, just like Sally, we're going to be using all these back loops. If you roll this down, you can easily see them. And you can see where it jogs here. So we're going to be using all these back loops to put in our 36 stitches. So we're going to do extended single crochet. So go in and pull up a loop and pull through the first loop and then pull through the second loop. That's how you're going to get your height. You can do that in every single back loop. So this is my 36th stitch. And the saw is probably going to stop because now it's pouring rain out. So no more saw noise. So now I just want you to go around and do one single crochet in each of these stitches into the full stitch. So when you roll your white back up, it should be even. Mine's a little under again. So that's my 36 stitches. I'm going to start to fill this because we're going to start decreasing. So I want to make sure this is nice and full. So I think that's good enough for me for now. So your next round is going to be 2 single crochets and a decrease, and this will bring it down to 27 stitches. That's number 1. That's number 2, and then your decrease. And repeat. So your next round is going to be 1 single crochets and a decrease. This will bring it down to 18 stitches. So I'm going to continue to fill it. Your last round is going to be 1 single crochet and a decrease. It'll be the same, and it'll bring you down to 12 stitches. So I just want to make sure that I've got all my stuff stuffed the way I want it. So your last round, like I said, is going to be 1 single crochets and a decrease. There we go. So you can fasten off. I'm still going to probably stuff some stuff down here, but you just need a cinching tail. So again, it's completely up to you whether you want your dirt to stand up or lay kind of flattish or whatever. So mine's full. Let's cinch her up. So I'll go into the front loop of the first stitch and out the front loop of the next stitch. All the way around. Hold that closed. Make your knots. And keep in mind there's going to be succulents all on the top of this. You're not really going to see much of it. You'll probably see the middle if you look down in between the succulents, but there we go. So get whatever color you're using for your succulents, and we're going to make a magic ring of 6 single crochets. Now you can make as many succulents as you want. I did 5 of them. The first 2 rounds are just going to be 1 single crochet in each of these 6 stitches, but after the first 6 I do my knot. So that's my 2 rounds. Move these. Your next round is going to be 2 single crochets in each stitch. That's number 1. The second stitch can go in there now. 2 single crochets in each stitch around will give you 12 stitches. That's my 12. And now I just want you to do 1 single crochet in each of these 12 stitches. So these ones, succulents, are made a little bit differently than the ones for Sally. These ones are taller. So your next round is going to be 1 single crochet and an increase, and this will bring it up to 18 stitches. It's 1 single crochet, and then your next stitch is the increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. Alrighty, so you should have 18 stitches. For the next 6 rows, you're just going to put 1 single crochet in each of these 18 stitches. And I will see you on the other side. So that's my 6 rows. So now we're going to do 4 single crochets and a decrease. This will bring you down to 15 stitches. That's number 1 with your marker. That's 4 single crochets and then your decrease. Your next round is just going to be 1 single crochet in each of these 15 stitches. Can you hear the birds? It just rained, so the birdies are all singing. Your next round is going to be 3 single crochets and a decrease. This will bring you down to 12 stitches. That's number 1. That's 3 single crochets and then your decrease. So your very last round is going to be 1 single crochet in each of these 12 stitches, and then you can fasten off. I'm just going to count to 12. Fasten off with a whip stitching tail and a sewing tail. So you can make as many of these as you want. There we go. So I'm going to put the pattern on the screen, and you can go ahead and make as many as you want. I'm going to do 5 like I already stated, and I'll meet you right back here. So I've got all 5 of mine done. So when I sew these on, I just sew them on. in a circle overlapping each other. Because you're probably thinking this is a pretty small space. How do you get them all in there? I just overlap because that's what succulents do. Once I've got them all sewn on, I start joining them together. So that's how I did mine, and then I just kind of curl them over just so they stay in place. So some overlap, some don't. This was kind of a loner, so I'm gonna just snip him off. These guys that came out the same hole so that I can do my usual tie a knot, weave it down. So let's get his face done, and then this video will be over. So you need your black. So both jack eyes are built the same. We start with a magic ring of 6 single crochets. Your next round is going to be 2 single crochets in each stitch. Your next round, your last round, is going to start with 6 single crochets. Your next stitch is going to be 2 half doubles in the same space. Your next stitch is going to be 2 double crochets in the same space. This next stitch is going to get 2 half triples. So you're going to yarn over twice, go into the stitch, pull up a loop, pull through 2, and then pull through 3. That's a half triple. So 2 of those in there. Then your next stitch is going to get 2 doubles. Next stitch is going to get 2 half doubles. And then 1 single crochet left, and you can fasten off. So you'll need a sewing tail. So this is what you should have. I know it's hard to see. So I'm going to put the pattern up. Go ahead and make your second one, and I'll meet you right back here. Make sure your jog is at the back when you do this. So the top part where we did our triple, it points that way. And it points right to the top. Like that. Where's my other one? Everything's black. I can hardly see it. And then that points in. Like that. So that's how it gets sewn on. Is pointing this way, not that way, or straight up and down. They have to point this way, so our triples are pointing inwards toward each other. So, we gotta grab a big, long piece of black. So, doesn't matter where you come in, just matters where you pop out to make these nostrils. And I've got a few stitches here that I can evenly get into. So just make sure wherever you pop out, it's going to be even. Don't pull this all the way. So your nostrils are going to flare out this way. And then flare out this way. I'm going to pop over here where I want my mouth to start. And there we have it. Your Jack Succulent. So this has been fun. It's been a fun little project. So happy Halloween, everybody. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you in the next video.